Another day of splash play NBA and a slate that is chock full of Q tags once more. We're going to do what we always do here. We're going to look at my projections compared to one of the industry leaders in Stokastic. We're also going to sim some DFS lineups. Of course, hop to the world of Unabated, our friends over there, and see what the world's going on with prop betting. What in the world's going on in prop betting? We'll find that out as well, of course, using the conditional NBA projections from Unabated to find you the best bets. It's your splash play NBA video for today, December 26th, 2024. Let's get into it. Of course, I already gave the hope it's a Merry Christmas for you guys spiel on the Splash Play NFL show this morning, but I do hope it was a good holiday for all you guys, especially if you're kind enough to be hanging out with me here the day after Christmas. Obviously, we've got an NBA slate of decent size, Thursday night football slate as well, so should be some good gambling going on today after I thought yesterday's slate wasn't the most fun in the world with the NFL, NBA competing. But let's see what we can get going today. A lot of Q tags I mentioned up top. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Trae Young, Domantas Sabonis, Damian Lillard, Miles Turner, Brandon Miller, Josh Giddey, Ben Simmons, Trey Murphy. He's going to go, so that one's been, at least we know that one right now. I would assume Bogdan Bogdanovic. All those guys are Q tags right now besides Trey Murphy, who will be going today based on the most recent reports. So lots of things we need to know for the slate to have any confidence in it. Biggest thing that's not on this list as well, if you're playing, I believe, the FanDuel slate today, I think including the late games again, doesn't really matter for DraftKings, only for the DraftKings late slate. Utah's missing a ton of guys tonight. We're going to see that when we load up my projections in a moment, and I'll talk more about that. But Utah, no John Collins, no Jordan Clarkson, also no Keontae George tonight. So definitely a skeleton crew there. Not a big rotation either for Utah expected. So if you're going to play a slate with them, keep that in mind because they are not in this little tweet here. Probable guys, Chris Middleton, Jalen Duren, nothing crazy there. Doubtful Jimmy Butler, who Pat Riley put out a statement saying that they're not going to trade him after weeks of there being rumors and innuendo about trading. Seemingly was not coming from the agent side, given that Jimmy Butler's agent was also throwing Shams Charania under the bus. Now Miami, though, I think they feel like they lost their negotiating leverage is how I feel about it. But we're apparently not going to be getting a Jimmy Butler trade coming up too soon. What's up, Spags? Afternoon. Hope you and the family had a good Christmas. Mine was pretty shitty. How do I take my son to the hospital? Jesus. Also, I don't know why you're the one you're telling me that, but I'm sorry to hear that, Richard. Hope you're doing okay. Happy boxing squirts. There we go. Howdy, y'all. Smash that like button. Squirt play of the day. Okay, well, there's no squirt play. I guess the squirt play of the day comes from you guys. The splash play of the day we'll get to the end of the video. So, assuming Giannis goes right now, he's my top projected player in the slate. Frankly, a little bit of a low projection for Giannis. I'm not really I'm surprised to see it here. Milwaukee facing Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn is a slow-paced team, still about a 110 implied total for Milwaukee. So surprised to see Giannis that low. You do get Dame Lillard back in, expected today, though I guess we'll see if that actually does pan out. Both Dame, as I mentioned, and Giannis still Q tags right now. But currently we have Dame in the projection. So as a result, getting Giannis a little bit lower is not a surprise. I'm at 55.2 today. Stokastic has him at 55.3. Still got him 13% of my sim. But this is not one of those situations for Giannis like we've seen in the last few weeks where people have been playing him as super chalk on a lot of slates. You have Lillard back in, price tag 11.3. Honestly, it's a fair price tag, but he's not a screaming value. So Giannis, a play of the slate you can get to, but not really a special play on this one. Besides that, and thank you for Mike here. Mike gave the super chat this morning. I appreciate it. And go Toledo. Yes, Toledo's up at halftime. I hope that pays off for you. So the reason that Utah has wild projections right now, basically Stokastic didn't update the minutes for Utah. Let me see if they did it. Again, it doesn't matter for the DK slate because they're not on it. So I just didn't feel the need to kind of fuck with the minutes because I'm really low on time today. They did finally up their projections. So let me see how it's going to affect things. Basically, I took out Clarkson and Keontae George and I think Collins manually, and all of them were in the projection set. So that's why Utah's coming up. But I can make a quick little swap here and get that right. So bear with me 1 second. Clear this out. Put that here. All right. Hopefully I don't fuck this up. I'll try to do it quickly on stream. Basically going to do a quick minutes update because they did not give me enough time to do it before the show. Matchups coming in. All right. Put that in here. Go over here. Paste it in. Sorry, no, I'm just literally narrating, but just for the sake of making this less confusing, we'll figure it out. All right, here we go. So we just got the update in. There you go. So Lowry, Markkanen, Walker Kessler, still good plays if you're playing that FanDuel slate or the DK night slate, but not nearly as good. They basically, the way it worked out was because I took out the other guys, but we didn't have the minutes adjustment. I had a shortened rotation that was just giving them all the stats. So now you're getting a little more correct. SGA would be your true number 2 guy here. I'm at 50 fantasy points, 49.8 if you want to be accurate to the decimal. Stokastic has him 52.7. I'm low on SGA, a lot on slates. I'm not really sure why. I'm not like high on Jalen Williams either, so I'm not really no logical reason. And at this point, my projection is stabilized with Hartenstein, where I have him at a 40.8 today. Stokastic has him at 39. So good, a few more stats to Hartenstein, but not a ton that should really affect SGA. So SGA, I'm low on. I think it's because of the matchup. He's an okay play, 10% owned by the field. I got him 7%. Not a big anti-stand, not a big four stand. SGA to me, just not a priority play, really. LaMelo Ball, currently have Brandon Miller in the projections. If Brandon Miller's not in, I'm going to get a lot more LaMelo Ball. As it is right now at a 10K salary, I would have him at 7% compared to the field's 22. LaMelo Ball has been a good play for the most part on the year. The high usage rate that he's at is he hasn't gotten to 40 yet, but 39.2% usage, 46% assist rate, about 1.45 fantasy points per minute for LaMelo Ball in the year. No issue going that way. That said, he's just a much more appealing play if Brandon Miller doesn't go. The matchup versus Washington does look pretty good no matter what. We've seen this spot go off where Charlotte and Washington, I think, didn't project too well a couple slates ago, and then ended up having a game where a lot of the guys ended up producing good points. So for LaMelo here, I'm feeling okay about him. But at 22% ownership, if the projection's not there, I'm okay just kind of getting away. Brandon Miller's out, though. LaMelo Ball, I think, one of the key plays on the slate. Cade Cunningham, if you're playing one of the late slates, you got 48.3 fantasy points for him. Domantas Sabonis missed shoot around, but we'll see if he goes today. 48 fantasy points for him. Again, DK late slate play, not on the main slate. If you see no projection from Stokastic here, it means that they're not on the DK slate. For Jalen Johnson, 46.4 compared to 48.6. For Trae Young, I did it backwards. For Jalen Johnson, 40. Wait, why am I low on both these guys too? All right. I'm low on Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, even though I historically am higher than Stokastic and both those guys. The field's going to be owning a shitload of Trae Young and Jalen Johnson today. The matchup for Atlanta, I think a little bit of a softer one on paper. A total of 124.5 for Atlanta going against Chicago. So I get the logic here. That's a lot of ownership going to these guys, especially if you do have Bogdanovich and you have a mostly healthy Hawks rotation. Yeah, I think for Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, I'm always happy with them. But if I'm low on them by this much, I'm okay with getting less ownership. Kind of chalky plays. Looks like I hate the slate. I don't hate the slate. I'm just surprised to see I'm so off on so many guys. Like, I'm high on the Heat guys this morning, even before there was any data up. I put Tyler Hero on the thumbnail because him without Jimmy Butler always a play I want to go to. But I'm way higher on him than Stokastic. Like, I'm getting him at 42.3 projection compared to 38.6, getting him in 32% of my lineups compared to 7.5. I think they just have some stuff flipped on me where I'm usually not low on Trae Young, usually not low on Jalen Johnson, especially low on both guys today. Lower on Şengün by a little bit, but getting more of him in my sim. I'm just not, I honestly didn't look enough at the results beforehand because it's been a chaotic day between again, Alex is off today, so I had to deal with a ton of kid shit in the morning. Had to do my splash play stuff, had to do NFL data updating, which I normally do on Wednesdays, look through all that, then to do my fantasy points column, then to come and do this stuff. So I'm not all the way there with my head wrapped around every fine point of the slate yet, and that's going to be what this video is forwarded for me today. But to see me be low on guys this much up top kind of surprises me. Let's get through it. Let's look through some of the top values. We'll go game by game too, and of course, reveal some more things. I will be on the deeper dive on Stokastic coming after this one too. So you'll get more nuanced takes from me when I get to kind of let this all soak in a little bit more. All right. Your value play is a little more obvious. So again, for Utah, if you're playing one of the slates with them on it, Micah Potter looked great as a 3K minimum play the other day. I put him in a couple lineups that I had, was really happy with him, honestly, in a way that I was shocked that he put up as many fantasy points as he did. Almost put up a double-double in that game. That said, for Micah Potter, price tag coming up a little bit, still a decent value play. He's getting a lot of basically 4 minutes, 3 minutes at this point. You're going to have no John Collins out there. Utah's like tanking really early, I feel like, is how they're looking. But again, no John Collins, no Jordan Clarkson, no Keontae George. Jaime Jaquez expected to get a ton of minutes with Jimmy Butler out. Projected today for 27.9 minutes. As a result, with the rates and court time without Jimmy Butler on the year, Jaime Jaquez averaging about 0.92 fantasy points a minute on a 21% usage rate, 12% rebound rate, 16% assist rate, a little bit of everything. Jimmy Butler not being there leaves a lot of everything left behind. So Jaquez looks like a strong value play at 4,100 today. I got him in about 90% of my lineups. The field will be at 61. I think he's the best value play on the slate by a wide margin, and you want to plant that flag now. He'd be one of the splash plays of the day. Bryce Sensabaugh, again, the Utah game, just not a lot of bodies there. That's why you're getting these guys cutting up a little bit more. Skipping over them, Walker Kessler, looking like a good value if you're playing a DK late slate. Mark Williams, the minutes are just not there for him, but that said, with his rates on the year, I would have him at 30 fantasy points. I have been knocking his rates down in most games, and he keeps producing in DFS, so I do think for Mark Williams, pretty strong play here. That said, the 30 projection, 30% ownership, a little bit heavy. If you knock the projection down, getting him 20% would be more than enough. 10%, honestly, probably enough. People don't want to play Mark Williams now because of the minutes limit, but in reality, pretty good matchup as we talked about. Just Charlotte in general. If you get Brandon Miller out, especially a little more usage to go around. And Mark Williams has been really quietly very good on the year. He was averaging about 1.5 fantasy points per minute. Let's see if that came down at all. He's still averaging 1.51 with 24% usage, 22% rebound rate, 23% assist rate. Mark Williams, just a strong play on paper with how he's played this year. That said, not a lot of ownership there. It is kind of the rates don't feel stable. He hasn't played enough minutes, though he is kind of getting there. So I don't mind Mark Williams as a value, but the ceiling is definitely capped because he can't play like 30, 35 minutes to give you that 50, whatever fantasy points you probably really want to have for any player taking over your center spot. Anybody else to note here? Colin Sexton. Again, it's so many Utah guys up top. I should have just taken Utah off my sheet. But I have to talk about it in the deeper dive, so I didn't. Hartenstein looking good to me again. Got 40% of him compared to the field's 11. I am always high on Hartenstein. I feel like he's hit the ceiling enough times that I keep kind of leaving it as is. That said, you want to play less Hartenstein. I think at least playing 10 to 20% feels about right. 40% feels a little bit aggressive to me. Amin Thompson, also a lot of Amin Thompson. 36% for him. Not really a value in the traditional sense, but projected to play 35 minutes, 6K salary. I got him in 41% of my lineups. But let's go game by game here, guys. Of course, we will hit the Sims coming up in a little bit. We'll also hit the unabated prop betting markets in a little bit as well. Again, lots of Q tags to come up too, so it's going to be a lot of news that we need to know at this point. Guys, if you're watching this one, we are so close to 500 subs. And look, even when my motivation is waning in the holidays, it's tough, man. It's tough to be doing a shitload of work. Well, I had to pay for a fucking babysitter today so I could do work while my wife goes to a book club with my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law's fiance. So the energy is high here. The point being, though, it's really fucking exhausting. So show some love if you can. Subscribe down below. I do appreciate the kind chats and all of that, but subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. We're trying to get to 500 subs here, trying to get to the first 3K watch hours, and the channel can be monetized, and that'll also probably boost the algorithm a little bit based on how YouTube does things. So show some love, subscribe, and do that. And, of course, check out the sponsors. Underdog, $1,000 of bonus cash. Stokastic, 15% off. That applies to all their packages, and it's in perpetuity. So it's a really good deal, better than any other one they're going to give you. Is a real reality of it. So check it out. Link in the description for that. And, of course, Unabated, $30 off with promo code SPLASH. If you want to click any of those here during the holiday season and take a little membership, take a spin, would help out a lot here because, of course, this show is much like PBS, put on thanks to the kindness and support of viewers like you. Oklahoma City. I got to workshop that. I feel like that's like not a bad catchphrase to throw in for shilling for plugs, but I'll work on it. Oklahoma City, 116.3. Indiana, 110.8. A lot of OKC ownership for me here and for the field. 24% for the field of Jalen Williams. I got 30. We talked about SGA already. I'm a little bit low on him. Still getting 7% of him. Isaiah Hartenstein, the biggest stand here, getting 41% of him compared to 11. This is one of those things I talk about a lot in DFS, though, where if you do on a slate like this with so many Q tags, you play the guy in the first game at a lot of ownership, you're going to kill your flexibility. So I certainly wouldn't really advocate for 40% Hartenstein. It's just with the top 150 lineups to look right now. If I were putting in my own lineups, I'd probably cut that ownership to about 25 or so. 25 would feel right to me. Just get above the field, but not go too crazy. But the main thing is any player you have in these early games, when you have a really Q tag heavy slate, you just eliminate your flexibility in a really pronounced way. And that's why the sharpest DFS players, the 150 maxers who are late swapping at pretty much every turn. I mean, that's why they win everything. So just something to keep in mind with that process here with Hartenstein, that and in general players on an early slate. If you're playing the 7 o'clock games, it's like you have so many dudes you don't know. Even if you don't know it by the time that we get to slate lock, you want to have flexibility because if Giannis is out, Portis is a slam dunk play. And obviously whoever else that we talked about. We listed so many guys in the Q tags. The point being is like those questionable guys are really the most important thing right now. So just don't overload yourself in anything in these early games. And that would be, I would say, if you don't know, if we don't know all the Q tag statuses. So don't load up on Oklahoma City and Indiana, Miami and Orlando, which is tough for me because I do love Tyler Hero on the slate. Charlotte, Washington. Chicago, Atlanta's at 7:30. So those 4 games in particular be the ones where you're like, if you put a lot of guys in or a lot of one guy in, you might just hurt yourself enough to not be able to swap and actually take advantage of whatever value opens up later on. Like your Uncle Bob. I'm better than some uncles out there, I guess, actually watching PBS. And not enough likes for views. Thank you, Tyler, coming in and policing. I appreciate it. I'm normally content with the amount of likes for views, but I do appreciate you guys watching live. And yes, listen to Tyler. He always knows best. Lou Dort, 10% of him compared to 12% for the field. No big stands here besides Hartenstein. And again, that Hartenstein stand is just a little bit too aggressive for where you'd want to be for the first game on the slate. Indiana still got football in the brain. Indiana, just not a team overall I'm getting a ton of. You guys know that if you watch these videos. Nobody on the team above a 23% usage rate now. They're flattening themselves out amongst the starters. 25% for TJ McConnell's the best usage rate in the team. He doesn't play starter minutes. So really on Indiana, just not a team I'd prioritize based on everything I know of DFS. That said, the price tag's coming down a little bit. So Halliburton at 8,200. He could stand to be cheaper for me, but starting to make a little more sense. Siakam, 7,600, makes a little bit more sense. Would worry a little bit about the matchup with the Thunder, but I think these guys are at a price tag now, or if they get a soft matchup coming up soon, Indiana's going to start to look a little bit better. Especially tired of calling out and dunking on asshole trolls on Twitter. Time to hibernate the hater until next year. It's never worth it. That's what I'd say. I appreciate the sentiment. And I've seen Tyler fighting the good fight. Of course, if you're in the best ball fantasy football streets, but yeah, it's being right. Just carry it for yourself. Be happy about it. I don't know. That's how I view it, at least for me and my sanity. Miami, 103.8 implied points. Orlando, 104.8. Tough matchup on paper. That said, only a 1-point spread with Jimmy Butler, a known quantity here. He's been doubtful for basically the last day and change. The trade thing seemingly not going to change the status for today. So Jimmy Butler expected to be out here. As a result, he's not in the projections. And as a result, Tyler Hero looks a lot better. In court time this year, so far for Tyler Hero, without Jimmy Butler, 1.2 fantasy points per minute, 28% usage, 27% assist rate, 9% rebound rate. Tyler Hero just becomes a much better player overall. You can see his normal rates here on this side of the board. 62% true shooting for him on the year as well. So Tyler Hero, I think a strong play on the slate. Again, the main thing for me is you don't want to maybe tie up all your lineups to Tyler Hero. But I think for right now, at 7,900, a better play than the field thinks he is. 7.5% ownership for the field. I got him at 32. Bam Adebayo does get a similar boost with Jimmy Butler out. Averages 1.13 fantasy points a minute, 24% usage, just shy of a 22% assist rate. Rebounding a little bit lower, actually. He rebounds at a 15% rate with Jimmy Butler out of there. For Bam, the matchup gets to Orlando on paper, not one you really want to go against. I'd rather have Tyler Hero, but if you wanted to make the case for Bam, he'll be 10% owned by the field. I got him at 4%. Jaime Jaquez, we talked about a little bit, getting him as my big value play of the day at 4,100. Same thing for Jaime Jaquez would apply, unfortunately. The fact that, he's a value play that looks good right now. It's possible some other ones could open up later. Maybe you don't want to play as much Jaime Jaquez as a result, with the field going to be 61% on him. That said, he does look like a strong play again. As I said before, averaging 0.92 fantasy points per minute in this year without Jimmy Butler, and that's about 750 possessions as well. So more than enough court time for that to be a stable projection. So for Jaime Jaquez, I think a strong play here as a value. Really on this slate, there's nobody who's a good value. Jaquez too, definitely due to shoot better, though he's been really shooting terribly. I was talking about it with Josh the other day on Stokastic. I think Jaquez has a really bad 3-point mark right now. Obviously, true shooting kind of accounts for everything. But yeah, Jaquez shooting 24% from 3, 74% from the free throw line is also not great. So he is kind of shooting less well overall. The 24% from 3 is so bad that he's basically not a pro player if he's going to keep that up. So Jaquez getting just more usage and getting a little bit better with that opportunity seems plausible. That said, against Orlando, maybe not the matchup to do it. Duncan Robinson, again, Jimmy Butler leaving a lot of minutes on the wing. I got 17% of him compared to 8. The Butler vacancy just opens up opportunities. You also get Drew Smith, who tore his Achilles, out of the lineup as well. So Miami, there's something to it, but frankly, the rotation should be more constricted at this point. But when you have Pele Larson back in, Josh Christopher getting a minute, really enough guys here that are just bodies that could take up a few minutes. Maybe a little bit more risk to the wing minutes than it seems. Shout Effect MD, appreciate that. And attacking the trolls, good process, bad result. That's also, it's a fair way to look at it. You want to be mean to people? I love being mean to people that are so shitty to me. Like the guy who's fucking made 10 different accounts in the Splash Play NFL channel the other day. And in reality, they never think they're wrong and they never realize that they should just, so it's kind of a loss, but that's what I would say from my experience as well. Jalen Suggs getting him 19% compared to the field's 10. A little bit lower on everything here, though, in general. Batadze, 11% compared to 7. I mean, not big stands here. Wendell Carter, 9% compared to 12. Anthony Black, 5% compared to 3. Honestly, getting more Magic than I would think. Like, it's odd to me that Miami looks really underowned when they have a very obvious missing piece. Orlando's missing, obviously, Banchero and Franz Wagner and Mo Wagner, too, for what that matters. But the prices have all caught up on that for the most part, where I don't really know what you're getting going to Orlando. They seem like okay tournament flyers to mix in, but this is kind of more ownership than a tournament flyer team. So I'm not crazy about Orlando getting some of these guys, including even Trevlin Queen at 3,600, with him projected to play 25 minutes. But none of them are like great plays. If you took them all away from me, I don't think it would change the slate in my lineups at all. So Orlando, okay. But this game, honestly, really low total, kind of ugly on paper. But Miami I can get with because like you lose Butler, theoretically a lot of opportunity there for these guys. And Drew Smith. Drew Smith's been playing a shitload of minutes too. Charlotte, Washington here. Anyone that makes 10 accounts. I mean, anybody that makes more than one account, I feel like, but it is what it is, man. Just internet weirdos. They get weirder by the year, and I don't think it's my fame going up. So that's how I feel about it. Charlotte was talked about with LaMelo getting a lot less of the field than him. Again, having Brandon Miller in, I think hurts things enough. We talked about with Brandon Miller a little bit before, though. His usage rate's kind of artificially inflated from all the court time this year. The LaMelo was out. It's probably a good 10-game stretch. Might have been 8 or 9. But basically, LaMelo was out long enough here that Miller got a ton of shots up, pushes usage higher. As a result, he's probably carrying a little bit higher usage than he would normally have. So you could knock him down a little bit. Maybe that would get you closer on LaMelo. But I just don't think LaMelo's a smash play here. I mean, going against Washington, anybody can be. So like, I don't want to kind of critique it too much. But he's like an infinitely better play if Brandon Miller is out. Like if Brandon Miller is out, LaMelo is an absolute must-have play. Like you got to have him in a good portion of lineups. I'd say for me, I'd probably get him in all of them. If Brandon Miller's in, it's just Brandon Miller takes enough shots away. He's a legit guy, gets some assists as well. LaMelo can hit a ceiling, but I don't think it's like a 22% ownership kind of a play you want to make then. So you get Brandon Miller out, play a lot more LaMelo. As it is, you want to be with the field, play 22% LaMelo, and it should be enough. I don't know. I just scrolled up here. Mark Williams. Got 29% of him compared to 3. As I mentioned, his numbers just look fantastic on the year. If you're going to think that's what he is, a 1.51 fantasy point per minute guy, he should be able to do it again versus Washington, one of the softest matchups on paper. On a slate without a lot of value, I'm probably more willing to play Mark Williams more than you should here. So 29% would still be a lot compared to 3% field ownership. Again, accounting for the fact that Mark Williams can't get to 30 minutes at this point. Like he's hard minutes capped because otherwise he can't play basically. So for Mark Williams at this point, he can produce a lot in a short amount of time. That's sort of what you're hoping for against Washington. But like being heavily exposed to Mark Williams does feel risky, even though on a slate where there's no value, a $4,900 center is producing 1.5 fantasy points per minute is kind of a legit play, more than people will give credit for on the slate. Washington, still no Kuzma here. Nobody looks that great besides Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr, a little bit cheap at 5,400, getting 28 minutes. I got him in 23% of my lineups. The field's at 28. Jordan Poole, 5% for me. Koulibaly, 5%. Koulibaly, I also projected fairly well here, better than Stokastic, 30.6 compared to 28.7. But Washington, look, a soft matchup versus Charlotte, but technically a pretty big pace down, losing about 5 possessions based upon this last year and change of sample size. So for Washington, Alex Sarr, okay, not a priority to me, but I did get him about a quarter of lineups in the field. We'll have a little bit more than that. Chicago, 118 implied points. Atlanta, 124.5 for their side. Some important Q tags like Josh Giddey for Chicago. I think that was the only one. Oh, and I would assume it too. Both would be pretty important to have. If you somehow lost both, would open up a lot of opportunity theoretically for Levine and Kobe White in the backcourt. In addition to probably one of the cheap guys, maybe Javon Carter gets a few more minutes. Chicago, high total here versus Atlanta, and I'm not getting a lot of anybody here. My highest exposure is 5% of Kobe White, which would honestly look better, and obviously would look better if Josh Giddey and I would assume were out. Even if one of them were out, it would look better for Kobe White. But everything else here, not a priority. Kind of appropriate price tags for Vooch, Levine, these guys. I don't have them projected that well. So good tournament options given the matchup, the team totals and all that. But in terms of just the projections and the salaries, like they're appropriately priced. The projections aren't crazy. Nobody above 40 here. So no screaming values either. Just unless you get somebody out here, or ideally 2 guys out here, it's going to look not that good. For Atlanta, a 124.5 implied points for them. A lot of Trae Young, a lot of Jalen Johnson, as I mentioned. I was surprised to see how low I am on those guys, given the matchup and how good they are. But Jalen Johnson's $9K now, so the ceiling's getting a little bit priced out. Trae Young's price tag has come down. I'd feel better about him, but his usage is down enough this year where he's not the same player. So Trae Young, that's a lot of chalk ownership. I get it with the matchup and all that. Yeah, I mean, I really can't critique it. It's a really high total for Atlanta, soft matchup for Chicago. But there's like a lot more split production, I feel like, for Atlanta than these projections are giving credit for. So the ownership projections, that is. So I'm low on Trae Young, low on Jalen Johnson, still not blanking him out. Low on Dyson Daniels always. If he gets his 8 steals today, I just can't predict that. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm willfully ignoring it, but it's like I just don't get Daniels naturally. You'd have to goose something to get more of him. And at 6,700, like I just don't want to be there. DeAndre Hunter getting 3%. He's been priced up enough to 6,100 that I'm not getting there. Somebody asked about Clint Capella before, getting him 20% compared to the field's 40. Not a big stand in favor of Capella. The minutes for him have not been as good as they should be. Basically a pure split between him and Larry Nance. Larry Nance is now priced up enough as well. So neither looks like a great play. They can certainly get there. If one of them plays well, they could steal minutes from the other one, as Larry Nance has done recently. So you want to play Capella. I'm not going to talk you out of it, but 40% Capella feels like too much to me. Houston, you got 114.3. New Orleans, 106.8. Houston and Amin Thompson, the chalk play here. Not a guy I got a ton of, but at 6K salary, projected to play 35 minutes. He does a little bit of everything. He's also been just shooting amazingly on the year. Amin Thompson, not a high usage guy, but adds those steals, adds some blocks, adds a good amount of rebounds, some assists as well, and he'll hit his shots when he gets them. I think Amin Thompson, a strong play here, but it is a very chalky play on the slate with 36% ownership, and me getting 41 in my top 150 lineups. Alperen Şengün, always a play I'm willing to go to at center on a slate where there isn't really an obvious center play come over the top with. Şengün got 22% compared to the field 17. Give him a little bit worse projected than Stokastic, but got him more because probably I didn't have other guys projected quite as well. Fred VanVleet, we got 13% ownership for me compared to 18% for the field. 9% Jalen Green compared to 14% for the field. Tari Eason's questionable right now. If he were out, he maybe open up a shot at maybe Jayshawn Tate. Doesn't it seem like they priced up Jayshawn Tate? I took a shot on Jayshawn Tate on the last slate. And yeah, he's still 3K minimum. So if you got Eason out, Tate is a value you could go to, but I don't know how much you want to get there. First guy to single entry for me would probably be Jaime Jaquez, like just because of the value on a slate where there isn't a lot of value. But Thompson, not a bad one. I don't know if he's the kind of play you'd move away from in a single entry. That's that. Tari Eason looked good in shoot around. All right, so hopefully, I hope he goes because I don't want to play Jayshawn Tate at minimum salary again. It is odd that Tate is still free though, because like he did play, I think just shy of 20 minutes last time out, got some good run, but also honestly gave up a lot of production to the other bench guys. Tate's just not the same dude he used to be. He used to be one of those guys for Houston when they didn't have as many like legit players where he would put up, 1 fantasy point per minute, play 30 minutes. He can't really get there now, but I'll just highlight it in case Easton somehow missed because we have seen guys lately go through shoot around and still not play, which never used to be the case. So if Easton didn't play, Tate comes a little bit better. Jabari Smith becomes a little bit better. But Easton himself, an okay play if he's in. For New Orleans, getting a lot of New Orleans. I've talked before about DeJounte Murray. Still got good usage, still good assist rate. Rebounding is a little bit down this year, but still playing well enough at 1.14 fantasy points per minute. Not a great matchup versus Houston. Tough defensive team, not a high-paced spot. But he's so due to shoot better that if I get him above the field because his price tag's low, I have no issue really going to DeJounte Murray. So 45% true shooting. You got to expect him to be normally around at least low 50s, if not mid 50s. Would be more where he's been based on the historical sample size. So DeJounte Murray got 23% compared to the field 7. Pretty big stand here to get 3X, but I like him at 8,400. McCollum, I'm not as crazy about, but getting him here 24% compared to the field 16. He is 7K though. Nice price tag for him. Trey Murphy, we talked about Q tags on him technically, but he's expected to play. Getting 21% of him compared to 9. I don't know why I'm getting this many Hornets. I think it's more that their price tags have gotten a lot more reasonable. A lot of guys here that feel like kind of tournament filler options for me, though I do think DeJounte Murray, based on my projections, is a legit good play. But if you can't afford the high price guys, especially if LaMelo, I think if he doesn't get Brandon Miller in, I think that DeJounte Murray becomes a lot better play. So DeJounte Murray, I'll make that stand for him. Trey Murphy, CJ McCollum, Yves Missy. I'm getting a lot of them, even though they're not guys I like nearly as much as DeJounte Murray. Brooklyn, 99 implied points. Milwaukee, 108.8. We have a questionable tags on Giannis and Damian Lillard. Of course, we will be going unabated in a moment, too. Just got to get through these games, and we'll hop over there. For Brooklyn's side, Ben Simmons looks okay. He's questionable right now as well. I'm getting 15% compared to the field 17. He was also hitting on some rapper chick, Lotto, over fucking Christmas. And he sent her a DM like, Merry Christmas, I'm alone. Fucking Ben Simmons just he finds a way to do something that's cringe no matter what. He's playing well as the lead point guard for Brooklyn, but not well enough that I'd force my way there a ton. 15% field's okay to me. The field's going to be at 17. Everything else here doesn't look that good. Just too many bodies playing minutes. Nobody actually playing that well. Cam Johnson, if you want to go there at 7,400, you could. He does spike random days. Milwaukee, maybe gun some extra threes, but nothing I love here. And Ben Simmons, even though I'm getting him, I really don't love him. Milwaukee, I'll be getting Giannis if he plays. Everything else here looks like shit. If Lillard's out, you'll probably get Ryan Rollins popping up a little bit more. He does have some downside because there's a lot of guys now with usage that are around him, but still a functional player on the year, averaging 1.02 fantasy points per minute. So Rollins not going to get minutes right now. Does have Delon Wright theoretically coming for some minutes, but if you get Lillard out, I think he becomes a much better play. If you get Giannis and Lillard out, Portis back in play. Middleton back in play to some extent. Brook Lopez in play. Ryan Rollins, I think, in play. A lot more options to go to if you get Lillard and Giannis out. But if you just get Lillard out, the Giannis will look better. Everybody else will look a little bit better, but probably not good enough to play. Toronto, 114.3 implied points. Memphis, 125.8. Pace-up spot for Toronto here, but they are getting Barnes and Barrett both in, seemingly here. Grady Dick, as a result, a bit overpriced, but still okay play if you wanted to get there as a tournament option at 1% owned, but not a priority. Barnes will be 15% owned by the field. I've got him at 5%. I think the big issue for me is that I give Barrett his normal rates. Stokastic, I think, drops Barrett's rates down a lot when Barnes is in. Really, both guys just take a lot of possessions away, and Barnes himself, since coming off the ankle injury, not really looking like Scotty Barnes all the way, so I don't need to correct things too much for me here. I think these guys are overpriced, getting both guys around 5%, 4%, Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett. You have no Pirtle in here as well. The center minutes are not really good for anybody either, so Toronto, a team that just doesn't appeal that much, but technically a pace-up going against Memphis. Memphis on their side, very high total here, and actually getting more Memphis than you would think. Ja Morant, getting him at 12% or 13% compared to the field 17. Price tags are a little bit nicer for these guys. None of them play 30-plus minutes, really, so that's sort of the big bugaboo for Memphis. But if these guys can get there and maybe in a competitive game get a few more minutes, would be helping them out. But a pretty deep rotation. I'm surprised I'm getting this much Santi Aldama, but he's 5,100 and power forwards. That's basically the reason why. Zach Edey getting 18% compared to the field's 26. Get a semi-value here. I do think if you want to make that pivot to Mark Williams, you could do that. Though Edey, a very similar play. Not a ton of minutes, but producing pretty well per minute at 1.14 fantasy points per minute on the year. Jalen Wells, I'm getting even 7% of him just because there's not really value on the slate besides Tommy Hawkes. So Memphis, I think an okay play here. Not a priority for me, but you're getting a bunch of guys here, 15 to 25% owned. So you can take your pick. I think the one that looks the least playable is Desmond Bane. Bane's kind of mispriced for what he's been doing this year. Usage down, assist rate down, fantasy scoring down a little bit. So Bane's not that dude right now. And here's the late games. I'm not going to talk about them here because we've wasted enough time. But if you're playing the late slate, here's the projections I have for these two games, or FanDuel, I guess, if they have it on there. I don't even know. Gary Harris out. I think that was already expected. No, that wasn't expected. So you'll tag a few more minutes onto the guards there, but he only had 8 minutes projected anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right, let's go to Unabated next, and let's see what we got in the world of betting. Of course, it's Unabated. We're going to use their conditional NBA projections today, and they have some pretty good deals going, including this one that I believe is still going right now. This holiday deal, Christmas Hoops, going through the 29th. So you got a couple more days to get their entire season package for under $700. And it sounds like a lot of money, but you got to keep in mind this is the rest of the year. So check it out for yourself. Click the link in the description and go over there if you can, because at least that way I get attribution. But you'd also do a monthly package for the $30 off the promo code SPLASH. Take advantage of their holiday deal if you can. And let's watch this cool little video to tell you more about their data. Here, you got unabated data on the screen here, the best odds screen in the biz. You can get it for yourself. Conditional projections, dynamic projections. That's the big thing for you. Players are in, players are out. You can make the choices about how your projections look based on what you want to do. Is DeJounte Murray in? Yes. Is Zion Williamson out? Always. Real-time news. You like that real-time news? You're going to get it here. I know you're going to see on the screen next. It's grass. Oh, it's grass. You don't even need graph paper like you were in elementary school. You can just draw your graphs on the screen. They don't actually draw on your monitor. They don't advocate for that. Expert Game Day live streams. No sexperts there, just experts. You know the crowd is ready. Get ready. Maybe some sexperts. I don't know. Unabated.com/NBA. Check it out. Check the link in the description. All right. Points lines here. We're not going to knock anybody in. We have 12 guys questionable right now, as you can see on the screen. So Just going to let it ride, focus on the guys and teams that we know don't have a Q-tag player available, so we can actually get the best bets. I don't have to explain a million different times the if-then conditionals. Man, there's not a lot of teams without Q-tags. He's coming back, though. Zion is coming back eventually. Cream pie grass, thank you. Kettle drums queued up. That's all the things people want from the unabated video. Your best bet right now is for Washington. Jonas Valanciunas in points, 15.4% EV on FanDuel. You're getting over 8.5 points for him at minus 112 odds. He's projected for 10.3, so that's just an inefficient line. It looks like that line's been pulled on PrizePicks and Underdog and on DraftKings, so run and get that one on FanDuel. And because we have so many Q-tag guys, all right, let me put in at least Trey Murphy. Like, who do we know is going to play? Trey Murphy's going to play. Sabonis, we don't know. The Sunmu, I think Giannis and Lillard go, but I'm not confident enough in it. So let's just at least pull in the Pelicans and see if that gives us anything better. Trey Murphy has been confirmed to play. But man, these Q-tags really take out every fucking player available. Okay, here we go. We got a few more coming in. Let's resort up here. There we go. Okay, this is all right. This is an insane one. Paul Reed under 6 points on PrizePicks. Why would that be the line? Not a game we care about for the DFS slate, but 77% EV on PrizePicks right now for Paul Reed with under 6 points. That is the most EV we have ever seen on streams. If you're playing on PrizePicks, you'd be doing yourself a crime to not take Paul Reed. On a line here, he's projected for 1.99 points, and their line is under 6. So one of the worst lines of the year by PrizePicks right now for a player that nobody cares about on this particular slate. Simone Fontecchio under 6.5 points, minus 118 odds, the usual PrizePicks Pick'em line. Gets you 30.4% EV for Simone Fontecchio on PrizePicks, and that's not available anywhere else. Jacoby Walter, 29.6% EV on under 10.5 points. That one's available on Underdog. You're also getting pretty good EV on DraftKings Sportsbook. Under 10.5 points for Jacoby Walter there, 26.3% EV. So Jacoby Walter, another good one. We talked about Jonas Valanciunas already. Unabated does not agree with me on DeJounte Murray, unfortunately, at least in these betting markets. Under 18.5 points for them, looks plus EV, minus 105 odds on DK Sportsbook. That gets you 12.9% expected value on that. Is it playable? Why is it freezing? Why is this? Can I scroll? Why did it lock up? There we go. Okay. DeJounte Murray's line, also K on FanDuel. Why is it locking up like this? Please, guys. It's Christmas break. Do the tools have to fucking spaz out too? Can I just have an easy stream and get through the 2 hours of basketball streams I have to do? Anyway, I'm not scrolling right anymore because it's just not working. So the DeJounte Murray line, there we go. Now it's clicking. Under 18.5 points, 8.1% EV on FanDuel for DeJounte Murray. I think it's because all the odds are updating, and I think that's making a little bit of a delay, which is not helpful for the streamer here trying to get through. Scottie Pippen, 12.3% EV on PrizePicks right now, under 9.5 points for him. Also available on Underdog, same 12.3% EV on there. DK Sportsbook, you have 11.4% EV on under 9.5 points. And on FanDuel, under 9.5 points at minus 128, gets you 8.3% EV. So unders aboard for Scottie Pippen today, under 9.5 points. Tari Eason under 10.5 points looks good on Underdog. 12% EV for that one, not playable anywhere else. Those are your points bets right now. Oh, let me click this. Come on. There's like nothing worse for me when the shut up, Mullen Lave. That's not how it works. It all froze up entirely. That's not the ideal thing. It was really my least favorite thing as a streamer, I have to say, and something to keep in mind. If for some reason somebody out there is like, I'm going to make a really cool product and try to get people promoted on YouTube streams. When the product fucking starts lagging and fucking up on stream, there is no worse feeling for you as a streamer because you have to like cover for it and be like, like it could be my browser. Like, I don't know, but it's just one of the worst experiences and makes me so uncomfortable. It's like somebody's going to tune on the stream and be like, this shit don't work and shoot it like Elvis. And that's not what we're looking for. Tari Eason, 27% EV on under 6.5 rebounds today. That's available on Underdog. Amin Thompson over 8.5 rebounds, plus 114 odds on FanDuel gets you 12.1% EV. You can still also bet Amin Thompson over 8 rebounds on PrizePicks. That'll feel pretty good with a 9.3% EV on there. Eve Missy under 10.5. Rebounds for him gets you 10.9% EV at minus 130 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. PrizePicks gives you 8.1% EV and under 10 rebounds as well. You don't want it anywhere else. CJ McCollum under 4.5 rebounds, 10.5% EV at those minus 125 odds on DK Sportsbook, but you're not getting it on your pick'em sites. Herb Jones, 9.3% EV and over 3.5 rebounds for him. That one's available on PrizePicks and Underdog. That's Herb Jones over 3.5, and you can bet it as well on DK Sportsbook and FanDuel, minus 120 odds on both for over 3.5 rebounds for Herb Jones. Rest in peace, Elvis. Well, allegedly, I mean, he still could be alive. We don't really know. Him and Tupac hanging out in Cuba. That's the bit. Book club is over, actually. Alex is now at the library with Luca, but it's fucking ridiculous. So I had to pay a babysitter just so I could do work, so my wife can go to fucking book club with her family. I'm happy she's hanging out with her family, but I think in that situation, if I were to take her to the people's court, I think they would agree that I shouldn't have had to pay half the babysitter fees. That feels like bullshit. But hey, what are we gonna do, right? Gotta write up columns and such. All right, come on, pull everything in. All right, let's give this one more sort just to make sure we got them all. Alperen Şengün under 5.5 assists at minus 124 odds. You're getting 19.6% EV. Still bettable on PrizePicks as well, under 5 assists for Şengün, but unders for Şengün looking good. You'd also take it on DK Sportsbook, 13.5% EV for under 5.5 assists at minus 140. CJ McCollum over 3.5 assists, minus 140 on DK Sportsbook gets you 13% EV. You probably don't want it anywhere else. RJ Barrett, under 5.5 assists for him, gets you 12% EV today on PrizePicks. So add it to your pick'em here. PrizePicks always fertile. PrizePicks probably the softest lines of anything that we cover here. DK and FanDuel, not looking good. Trey Murphy, 9% EV, under 2.5 assists for him. That's on Underdog right now, not available on DK or FanDuel. Santi Aldama, over 2.5 assists, looks pretty good at plus 135 odds on DK Sportsbook. That gets you almost 9% EV, about 8.8%, and it won't let me scroll. So unclear. No, it's not on FanDuel anyway. So I scrolled for nothing. It froze up and scrolled for no reason. But Santi Aldama on DK, over 2.5 assists, plus 135 odds. It looks good. Desmond Bane, under 5 assists on PrizePicks, 8.4% EV, not bettable anywhere else. Kelly Olynyk, 8.1% EV and under 3.5 assists. That's at minus 166 odds on DK. And that line's been pulled everywhere else. So Olynyk, under 3.5 assists. Your last assist bet we're going to hit here. And of course, there usually are more too. Keep that in mind here, even if you have no Q tag guys in. So more to scroll down and see if you want to pay for yourself. We should give you a little taste here for free. It's part of my deal with Unabated. Is that a troll to a book club? Sure. I mean, I don't want that for them either. I just want to not pay for the babysitter. I think, I think I'm dead right about that. But it is what it is. All right. Let's sim some lineouts here for PRAs. Pull them all in. Please just pull them all in and don't freeze. Oh my God. What was PrizePicks doing with these Paul Reed lines? Like, did they just have a bad minutes projection? It's insane. Anyway, now the official most EV we've ever had in a bet, and it's still sim EV. It's not market-based EV, but you're talking under 12.5 PRAs. As you can see here, the PRA line is about like 5 based on Unabated's projection. So unless somebody's going to be out, I think this line must have been kept from when Isaiah Stewart was out, maybe would make more sense. But 82.4% EV for under 12.5 PRAs on PrizePicks. That was an Underdog, but it's not available anymore. Fontecchio under 10.5 PRAs gets you 40% EV. So just bad lines in Detroit game, I guess. PrizePicks 40% EV under 10.5 PRAs for Simone Fontecchio. Tari Eason 25.2% EV on under 18.5 PRAs. That one's on Underdog Pick'ems, not available elsewhere. Scottie Pippen, 11.6% EV on under 16.5 PRAs. That one's at minus 125 odds. And Reed, is it on PrizePicks? I mean, I don't think that Unabated has inaccurate data. So I don't know what to tell you. Maybe the line got pulled, but it was probably in here at some point because they pull their shit pretty fast. Unabated does. There's a lot of people, again, I say it enough times on here not to be. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's getting pulled right now. Maybe they have a stale line or something. I don't know, but Unabated usually is very good about killing stuff right away because I say it a lot and it's not meaning to be disparaging about myself or you guys. They have people that are spending so much money than you or I on a given slate that they need to have shit be real time. So I don't know what to tell you, but it should be available. Jordan Poole under 32.5 PRAs, 9.7% EV for him. That one's available on PrizePicks Underdog, and you probably don't want it on DK Sportsbook. Champagne, no. I forget if I read Pippen under 16.5 PRAs, minus 125 odds on DK Sportsbook. That gets you 11.6% EV. And on PrizePicks, 9.7% EV on under 16 PRAs. Let's go to the DFS sims now. And again, shout out Unabated. They allow me to put on the show here, so check them out. Even if you can't find the line on PrizePicks, you'll find some other lines for sure when you go to Unabated. So do that. And let's build these lineups out. Of course, here we're going to run stochastic lineups with just their projections. I will have no input on this one at all. Basically, the sim exposures I showed in the beginning of the video, that's my projections overlaid on top of stochastics. What we run here on stream is just stochastic data, so no bias here, just what you're getting from one of the market leaders. Check it out for yourself. Of course, check out all the sponsors, $30 off from Unabated, even if you want to take their not Black Friday deal, their Christmas deal. You can also click the link in the description, and then we get attribution for it, and that helps out a lot. Also, check out Stokastic. We can see on the screen right now, 15% off with the promo code SPLASH. Of course, it does go right to the show here. 50%, whatever you spend comes here, so it goes a long way for a YouTube channel. So please do that, and let's see what we get on here. You're going to simulate one more time here. Is it 1/3 to first today? Quick look. Just loading up the DK app to see what the prize pool is today, because I want to get that right. So it's a $222,000 tournament with $50K to first. So it is 25%-ish. All right. We'll keep it at 25% for today. Let's run this sim. We'll see what we get. Hopefully a lot of Jaime Jaquez, because that's the hill I'm dying on today, no matter what. You're coming up at 5, guys. Eastern time, that is. Stokastic Deeper Dive stream coming up as well with me and Josh Engelman. So I'll probably rerun my sims one more time for the projections update we got, and I'll have some slightly new data for that one, but I don't think these are going to move around that much. Really, the main thing here, as mentioned up top, so many Q tags on the slate. That's like the main thing we need to know right now at this point. Everything else is kind of busy work. Because if you get Giannis and Lillard out, you get like a bunch of legit dudes out. The entire thing's going to look completely different. I'm just going to check Twitter really fast in a different tab as well. See if we got any other news that matters. Stuff for Friday, the Gary Harris news, which doesn't matter. And Drew Holiday, Porzingis questionable. Who cares? All right. Your top lineups right now, and then we'll look at the 150 overall. You got Scotty Barnes, Trevlin Queen, the value here. Jaime Jaquez. So I was getting Queen and thought that was a dumb shit play, and it might still be, but you're getting Queen in your top 5 ROI lineups here. Queen, Jaquez, Alexander Sarr, Clint Capella, Amin Thompson, Jalen Williams, Alperen Şengün. It's a fairly balanced lineup. Your biggest kind of concern point is definitely Queen there. But, with Harris out, minutes get a little bit easier on the wing, so I get it. Number 2 ROI lineup, DeJounte Murray, so I'm on board with that. DeJounte Murray, Trevlin Queen, Jaime Jaquez, Jalen Williams, Goga Bitadze, Dyson Daniels, Alex Sarr, and Hartenstein. Like the Hartenstein part, as I mentioned, just never into the Dyson Daniels part, even though he absolutely can hit whenever. It's just hard to predict when that does happen. If he doesn't give you those 8 fucking steals, you just get nothing from Dyson Daniels usually. Number 3 here, CJ McCollum, Trevlin Queen again, Jaime Jaquez, Jalen Williams, Goga Bitadze, Jalen Green, Jalen Johnson, and Clint Capella. Number 4, you have LaMelo Ball, Trevlin Queen, Jaime Jaquez once again, Alexander Sarr, Goga Bitadze, Jalen Green, Jalen Johnson, and Zach Edey. I'm surprised by this much Jalen Green. I'm surprised by this much Goga. Definitely some things here. And Sarr. I mean, I get like Sarr being a kind of mid-tier option who could theoretically give you 40 at about 5K, but I don't know that he does. Number 5 is Fred VanVleet, Trevlin Queen again, Amin Thompson, Jalen Williams. A lot of Jalen Williams too. Clint Capella, Kobe White, Jalen Johnson, Zach Edey. Different than my top 5 would look. I got to say that. Appreciate getting through a long day. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's honestly, it's going to be a long day till football season ends, so it's fine. But yeah, it's like the NBA, NFL crossover, and then like losing a day that I usually do other stuff for. It's not my fave, but I appreciate it. We get through. I still try to smile through it. Trevlin Queen, you're getting 87% of lives compared to the field's 20. Huge stand on Trevlin Queen. He's been okay this year. This is like a lot. This is a lot of Queen. And I'm not talking about Freddie Mercury. Trevlin Queen, again, I'm looking at his numbers a little bit more. 0.88 fantasy points per minute on 17% usage and a 13% assist rate. He's also been shooting unsustainably well. 76% true shooting on the year. Also very high steal block rate. Turning the ball over a good amount. 22% turnover rate. I don't know, man. I'm not trusting this Trevlin Queen shit. That is so much Trevlin Queen. And he's shooting guard only? I don't know about that. 87% is a lot of Trevlin Queen. Jaime Jaquez, 63% compared to the field's 43, so not as big of a stand as I would have, but still a pretty big stand in favor of Jaime Jaquez. And I would feel a lot more comfortable with Jaquez than I would Queen, even though I think they're both fine. But like Queen's not minimum salary, it's 3,600. I don't know, man. Jalen Williams, 56% for the top 150 laps compared to 21% overall. Alex Sarr, 43% compared to 28. Not a surprise based on the highest ROI lineups that we saw. Amin Thompson, 39.3% compared to 39.7. Clint Capella, 39 compared to 32. And LaMelo Ball, 37% compared to 31. Yeah, I guess that would be true. You would get a few more minutes. Did they update with that? Yeah, so they've updated that. So that would explain it more. Okay, that's a fair point by Steve. So my projections that I just looked at on the screen did not account for Gary Harris being out because that hadn't changed yet before I pulled my data in. But if you're going to give Queen the extra minutes, I guess he'll look better. Still feels like a lot of Trevlin Queen, though, is what I'll say. 23 fantasy points. I get how you get there. It's a lot. Your highest leverage play is your Queen. You're getting 66% more than the field. Don't get the Jaquez obsession. Why is he a bad play? He's going to play about like 25, 28 minutes. I mean, 25 minutes would be the low point. He's projected for almost 28 by Stokastic. He absorbs a lot when Jimmy Butler's not there. So I'm not sure why he would. A, obsession feels stupid. B, there's not great values on the slate. So if you want to play Trevlin Queen over him, you can. I prefer Jaquez. At small forward, power forward especially. Jaquez getting 19% more than the field. And again, without me putting anything in here, there's just Stokastic's data. 19% more for Stokastic. So do we trust me in Stokastic, or I don't know. What do you trust, Doug? I don't trust Doug Quealy or whatever your name is. No disrespect, but got to think about it a little bit more. Zach Edey, 16% leverage for him compared to the field's 20%. Alex Sarr, 15% compared to the field's 28. Goga Batadze, 13% compared to 8. Jalen Johnson, 7% leverage compared to the field's 18 and change. So decent leverage here. The biggest stands, though, Queen. Jalen Williams, a really big stand here that I'm surprised by. And Jaime Jaquez, who Doug does not believe in. So if you want to fade Doug, you play Jaime Jaquez. You want to fade Stokastic and go Doug's way, you fade Jaime Jaquez. Okay. He's playing the Magic. It doesn't, I mean, whatever, man. Are you worried about the DVP matchup for a guy who's priced at 4,100 who could potentially play 30 minutes? Like, I think you're not doing DFS right if that's the case. But he also doesn't really suck. He averages like 0.9 fantasy points per minute, which actually doesn't suck. There's like fucking 50 guys in the slate who average 0.6 fantasy points per minute, and you're talking about an obsession with Jaime Jaquez? Fucking dumb shit. Sorry, but Doug, please. I prefer Doug Funny be in the chat. We got Malcolm Brogdon. Getting no ownership on Malcolm Brogdon here in the top 150 set. Field will have him 13%. Stokastic wants you to get none. Contavious Caldwell, 14 compared to 5. So low on Contavious Caldwell. That's fine. They're high on Trevlin Queen. That's probably the logic there. Tyler Hero, they're low on. I disagree. He's on the thumbnail for that reason. That said, maybe if you don't like Jaquez, you'll like Tyler Hero more. Maybe I could sell you one of these options if you don't like the Heat guys. Ben Simmons, 13% compared to 5, so negative leverage on him. Santi Aldama, 21% compared to 14, negative 7% on him. Zach LaVine, 11% compared to 5. So you're low on all these guys. I think the one that I'd feel the most uncomfortable with is Tyler Hero. They could still, I get Orlando's a tough matchup, but you lose Jimmy Butler, a lot of minutes open up. It's really the main thing here. It could not hit. Like look, fade Doug. I don't know. Listen to Doug. Do whatever the fuck you want. This relates to Doug's opinions. But really, DFS is a game of like, we have more minutes for a guy. We have opportunity. We still have a game total where like the Magic are expected to score 103. You think the Magic gets smoked? I mean, no, you think the Magic smoke them and they run away with it, which is kind of hard to do given the fact they're missing also their 2 alpha players. Then I guess you could do that. Like, it's DFS. You can do whatever you want. But like fundamentally in a slate where there isn't really great value right now, I think the whole point of DFS is like a guy like Jaime Jaquez, Tyler Hero, all these guys should be better plays. Hero, at least the price tag's high. Jaquez is stupid cheap. But if you don't play Jaquez, play Duncan Robinson. I would play something there because Jimmy Butler's going to vacate about 35 minutes. There we go. That's a slate, guys. Again, show some love for the affiliates and all that. Click the links in the description. Goes a long way. My splash plays for the day here. Before we do that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Of course, I'm just one guy here doing multiple channels, having to defend Jaime Jaquez left and right. But I do the best I can to give you the best data, show you the best tools and all that on stream. So please go support the show as best you can and get us to that 500 subs to try and hit before the new year. And same thing for the watch hour so we get the shit monetized. Get things moving a little bit more here. My splash plays of the day. Number one's Jaime Jaquez. Sorry to our pal Doug here. I think Jaquez, again, not a lot of values in the slate. Maybe something opens up with all the Q tag guys. there's a better value that's not really available right now that becomes available. But as it is, like, he's one of the best players in the slate. Guy's going to get minutes, match against Orlando, whatever. He contributes in every category. So I still think that he'd be one of the guys. Same thing. I do think Tyler Hero is a better play in the field. So I'll lump him in as another splash play of the day. Besides that, let me just check my quick sim exposures. Obviously, you guys saw some of them, but I just want to look at them one more time and see which ones I feel the best about. But Hawkins is definitely one of them. I mean, that one I'm not. That one I really hope doesn't lose, but it absolutely can. Hartenstein again, I guess. Especially when you're getting that much Jalen Williams. Hartenstein getting a few more points, few more rebounds would hurt a lot of sim ownership going to Jalen Williams' ways. So I feel better about Tyler Hero. I feel better about Jaime Jaquez than Hartenstein, but I would put Hartenstein in. And I guess Amin Thompson, though he's chalky as well. Mark Williams is semi-value. I think those are my big stands here, my splash plays of the day. So hope it works out. Whether you play the guys I'm talking about, fade them. I hope it works out for you too. Gamble responsibly, guys, as I always say here, near and dear to my heart, even though it's always money time. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. Back tomorrow. Oh my God. Back this fucking holiday. Back tomorrow with more. I'll see you guys at 4 p.m. Hopefully no Jaime Jaquez there to tear us apart. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.